Hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Maria. I am a tech support specialist here at Thor 3D, and today we will be discussing all about scanning humans. We will be featuring our two scanners, which you can kind of read more about on our website at thor3dscanner.com. We will be featuring the Calibri, which is intended for medium to large size objects. So that includes things like humans, cars, statues, and furniture. And the Calibri Mini, which is intended for smaller objects like human faces, fingers, ears, and kind of small statues and objects. You can also watch all of our other YouTube videos that discuss each of those scanners and their capabilities in detail. So today, with the help of my colleagues, Yulia and Andre, you will be able to see in real time how we scan the human body. We will be scanning the whole human in almost like a T-pose from head to toe. We will also have just an arm scan, also with the regular Calibri, and finally the fine details of the face with the Calibri Mini. So before we begin, to point out, whenever you are choosing a human subject for scanning, please prepare that person to be able to stand very still for a few moments and to be able to hold that pose, be it in a T-pose with their hands lifted up or with their arms and hands to their sides. For this case, it can be challenging to scan children as they are less likely to be able to stand perfectly still. We also recommend that the person being scanned take off any shiny jewelry, their glasses, and also their watches, which may be kind of creating some shine on the scans. So both the Calibri and the Calibri Mini are structured light scanners. So generally we recommend that you turn off any kind of bright overhead office lights as you see right now. Also try not to scan in direct sunlight. So for the purposes of this webinar, just so that you can clearly see myself and my colleagues, we did leave the lights on, but they are about half of them are switched off to help us out. So without further ado, let me introduce my colleagues. This is Andre, who will be our subject, who will be scanned on this turntable that you see here. You do not require a turntable to scan a human body. There's a 5-meter long cord for each of our scanners, so you can easily walk around your subject, but a turntable definitely helps to get every side and every angle of the person more easily. So, Andre? He will be using these metal sticks to fixate his arms away from his body, and Yulia will be scanning him from head to toe in a spiral motion and also getting underneath the arms to get all of those details. So let me go ahead and turn on the scanner view so that you will also be able to see in real time what the scanner is seeing. And right now you are seeing a projection of the scanner touchscreen itself. So before we begin scanning, we always turn on Live 3D, which helps us to better see what parts of our object or model we have already scanned. As you can see, there is a color model being created in real time. So this is a color distance map that helps you see how far away you are from the object. So if you get closer to the orange and red zone, you are too close to the object. And if you pull back and go into the blue or purple zones, then you are a bit too far away from the subject. So as long as you are keeping that optimal distance in green, then you know your tracking will not be lost while you are scanning. Generally, while scanning, you want to try to scan the head one time around, and that is because while Andre is a great subject and he stands very still, we still do we still breathe, and we can still move our heads even slightly and slightly move our eyes. So try to generally scan every section of the human body kind of once so that you have a good, clean, smooth mesh without any ripples. Also, when scanning the head, it is better to keep the shoulders in the same shot. That way you have more continuous geometry for the scanner to see. For scanning humans, it is best to scan in geometry mode. Both of our scanners, the Calibri and the Calibri Mini, can scan in 3 different modes, which is geometry, marker tracking, and texture tracking. For models like humans that have a lot of geometry, it's easy to scan in geometry mode. You do not have to separately scan in texture tracking, as while we are scanning in geometry, we selected to capture some texture frames, which will then we will be able to create a color model on top of our mesh model afterwards in post-processing in Calibri Nest. As you can see, to be able to scan each arm, Yulia is also making sure that a part of the torso is in the shot. That way that there is enough geometry for the scanner to keep track. As you can see, Andre is also wearing colorful clothes. He's wearing a blue shirt, blue jeans, and blue sneakers. So please, for any of your subjects that you will be scanning, suggest that they preferably don't wear black or anything with repeating patterns like stripes or polka dots, which can sometimes interfere in the scanning process. Now, for many scanners, scanning human hair and dark hair can be a challenge. Andre doesn't have much hair, so in this case, his model is a bit easier to prepare. But also, I will be showing you another scan of Yulia, who has voluminous curly hair, and it is quite easy to post-process the scan so that you are not losing the hair and you have that mesh nice and filled in. Also, while scanning the legs, it is best to keep both legs in shot, even if it's one leg in the front and one leg in the back, again, so that there is always more geometry for the scanner to kind of hold on to. If you are using a turntable like this, it is also recommended that you can have a remote control switch. So after you have done scanning the main human body, you can always kind of go ahead and switch off the turntable and then be able to get underneath the arms to get those details as well. Okay, and here we have finished our scan. Let me go ahead and switch us over to Calibri Nest, and we can open up that point cloud and see what it looks like. Let me open up the scan here that we just made. As you can see, there are multiple scans here in my list from Calibri and Calibri Mini and multiple other scanners. So no scans are actually stored inside the scanner. I have had multiple scanners connected to this laptop, and all of the scanning results from all of those different scanners are in one hard drive on my laptop. And I can easily kind of move those scans to any other laptop or computer for post-processing as well. So here's the scan that we just made, and you can see it's about a bit more than 3,000 frames, and we have definitely captured all of the details from the head to the arms to the legs and all of the torso in just about 3,000 frames. You can always shoot for more, so I have made models with about 5,000 frames, but again, this is definitely enough data for us to be able to construct a model. So we can cut the additional kind of geometry we don't need from the frames, and we can also cut that from our finalized mesh. And I can use any of our cutting tools to cut off the sticks that Andre was holding, and also the turntable can easily be cut. So as you can see, this is still the preliminary point cloud. We have not created the finalized mesh, but you can see it is quite thick. There are quite a lot of dots, so that it's definitely enough data for us to create a good mesh. Now, especially around the head, because of the hair, it is creating kind of a lot of kind of noise and holes, as you are seeing now. But here's where our finalization algorithms really help us out. If I open up the settings in Calibri Nest, which is this wheel button, we can use any of our presets. So for example, the recommended for the regular Calibri, the lowest, or at least the highest resolution you can have is 0.7, so you would have the most detailization. But the model will weigh more, and it will be eating a lot more of your laptop or computer's resources. For the Calibri Human, we generally suggest a kind of lower resolution so that the processing of the mesh will be much faster and less taxing on your computer's resources, but still you will be able to see a lot of the detailization. So I will not be running this full algorithm at the moment, just to save us some time. So depending on how much hair your subject has, you can choose to turn off preliminary cleaning in that registration stage. That way, this point cloud just around the head specifically, that less of that data will be lost. Also, when finalizing the mesh, I always make sure to fill all of the holes. That way we do not have any of the holes, especially in that head and hair area. Usually I do not simplify. I usually turn this off, and I only apply simplification prior to adding texture to my model. So here's where we can change the settings. You can always set it to custom settings and create any name for those settings you want, and kind of choose that algorithm for yourself. So look, switching from our preliminary point cloud here is our finished model of the scan that we did earlier today. You can see we have already removed part of the turntable and also the sticks that Andre was holding. So you can very clearly see each arm and also all of the fingers very clearly. You can see the geometry of the head and the face, and also even all of the folds in the clothes, as well as the shoelaces on the feet. And this model was post-processed This model was post-processed with a resolution of 2 millimeters, and you can see a lot of the detail and nothing was lost. So again, also it was selected to fill all of the holes, so you can see that any of the holes that may have been present on our point cloud were easily resolved on our finalized mesh. And switching over to this scan of Vuia, you can see that using the algorithm to fill all the holes and removing preliminary cleaning at the registration stage so that we won't be losing information, the hair is very visible and very clear. So the Calibri scanners are great at capturing dark hair. Here the arms are not in a T-pose, one arm is down and one arm is in her pocket, so that definitely made scanning a bit easier, but the same as our model of Andre, you can clearly see all of the details on the arms, the legs, and the face. And one final thing, if I open up the frames in our scan, so let me pop open those frames. By default, we have a setting that allows us to choose how many texture frames the scanner will gather while you are scanning. In geometry mode, if you just need a mesh model without any colors or textures, you can always set that setting to 0 and your model will weigh a little less. By default, it is usually every 20th frame. So as you can see from our frames, about every 20th frame has this pink box. And these are our texture frames, so they are literally just photos that the software is taking to be able to create our texture model. Switching back to our finalized mesh, so here is our full mesh of Andre, and here is the model with applied texture. You can see the colors of the clothes are very visible. You can see the pattern on the t-shirt very clearly. You can see all of the fingers. You can see the outline of the hair. None of the features are lost. And if we look down, we can even see the white shoelaces very clearly. So texturing a model like this, creating a mesh and a texture model is quite easy. Okay. Next, we would like to show you how we can scan kind of separate limbs using the regular Calibri. So for things, for example, orthopedic purposes, you can scan the leg and the foot to be able to create custom casts. We will be scanning Andre's arm in a fixed position. That way you will be able to see how that mesh is created and how also crisp and clear those features are. Let me go ahead and set up that scene and we will show you how we scan. Okay, so here we have Andre with his hand on this stool in a fixed position. So you want to try to make sure that the arm and leg is always kind of in some kind of fixed position so that geometry remains the same and scanner tracking is continuous and that there will be no ripples on your final scan. Like with every scan, we want to make sure to turn on our live 3D so that we can better see the model as it is being scanned. Like with our full body scan, as you're scanning the arm, it's really good to keep the torso within the same shot. That way that there is more continuous geometry for the scanner to kind of hold on to and see. All of that torso information and data can easily then be cut off in post-processing in the Calibri Nest software. So when scanning, please make sure to always kind of keep turning your hand and keep turning the scanner. That way you are always creating a uniform mesh. In the case if you are scanning somebody's leg or foot, to create kind of any additional geometry, you can always place, for example, pieces of paper around the foot or the leg. That way that there's more geometry for the scanner to see. But generally that is not necessary, and a full leg should be enough geometry, at least for the regular Calibri. And please remember to leave any questions or comments you may have in our YouTube chat, and I will be happy to answer them. As you can see, when you're scanning, please make sure to kind of tilt the scanner to get underneath the arm and to get into all of those crevices, so you always have enough data in a thick mesh from all sides. All right, now let me go ahead and open up that scan that we just made, and we can look at the point cloud. All right. So here is the point cloud of the scan that we just made. As you can see, there's definitely enough data in just under 2,000 frames. We definitely have enough data and information. So obviously we just need the arm. And again, you can cut off this extra information either off of the frames or off of the finalized mesh. I can use any of my removal tools here and just erase the torso that we do not need, and I can remove that and just leave the desired limb that we want. So again, before we finalize the mesh, we always check the settings and choose what resolution we want to finalize this with. So again, you can set it to the highest possible resolution of 0.7, and you will definitely be able to see a lot of crisp, clear details. But again, that will take you a bit more time to create, and depending on the speed of your laptop, could be a bit slow. Now, this laptop has 24 gigs of RAM, which is definitely great for post-processing Calibri scans. The minimum we recommend on our website is having at least 16 gigs of RAM, but the faster your computer or laptop for post-processing, generally the better. And let's look at the finished result. So here, this mesh was processed with 1.6 millimeters. And you can clearly see each finger. You can see the veins on the arms. The inside of the hand is very prominent. The elbow looks great, and you can see all the folds on the shirt. And again, you can always cut off any sections you may not want, even from the finalized mesh. So I can always kind of remove any of these parts that I don't want, and then I can save this result as an STL or OBJ, depending on your purposes, to export it into other software. And likewise, if you need, you can always use the texture frames to apply texture to your model. Okay, so finally, I will be showing you the Calibri Mini, and we will be scanning Andre's face from ear to ear. So again, the Calibri Mini is intended for smaller objects and has a smaller field of view. So while we will be definitely able to see the features of the face really well, it is not recommended to scan all the way around the head, as towards the back of the head there is not much continuous geometry, and Calibri Mini may have some issues with that. Likewise, you can scan a human hand and get the details of the fingers as we're seeing here with the Calibri Mini. But scanning the whole arm would be challenging for the Mini, as again, there will be not much continuous geometry as the arm is straight. So give us a moment, please, while we switch scanners. Okay. You can see Julius holding the Calibri Mini much closer to Andre this time. As the Calibri Mini has a smaller field of view, you will also be holding the scanner much closer to your object or person. As you can see, this is also a structured light scanner, but it projects blue light in this case. But the process and approach to scanning is exactly the same as with the regular Calibri. We are seeing a color map to show us the distance from the object. Again, if we get too close, it will become red. If we get too far away, it will become blue. So you always want to make sure that you're always in the green zone so that you will not be losing tracking while you scan. Again, once again, you're seeing throughout the scanning process to always keep turning your hand and turning the scanner so that you are creating a nice uniform mesh. So please try not to scan just directly side to side from ear to ear in a linear motion, as that would more likely create lines on your scan that you don't want. Another tip, whenever using either the Calibri or the Calibri Mini, just scan slowly, take your time, try not to rush, because the more data you have to work with, the better. And if you scan slowly, you're less likely to lose tracking and create any kind of unwanted lines or stripes on your scan. You can see Yulia is also reaching down to get underneath the chin so that we won't have any holes in our final mesh. As always, at any time, feel free to leave any questions or comments you may have in the YouTube chat, and I will be happy to answer them. And here we have arrived on the other side of the face to the other ear. Again, it wasn't scanned in just one linear motion. We did kind of make gestures going up and down to get to the other side, so we will have a nice even mesh. So let's go ahead and open up that scan in Calibri and look at the point cloud. Okay, so here's our preliminary point cloud. You can see we definitely have enough data in about 2,500 frames. We can definitely clearly see all of the features. Now you do see kind of this extra noise floating around, and again the registration kind of algorithm will align kind of all of those frames and be able to kind of remove any of that you don't need. Let's go ahead and switch to our finalized result. So here is the finalized mesh of Andre's face. You can very clearly see how well each ear turned out. You can very clearly see all of the features. If we kind of move on down the face, you can even see the texture of the skin, the eyelids, the nose. So the Calibri Mini was very easily able to capture these features. This model was finalized in our Calibri Mini settings. So for the Calibri Mini, the highest resolution possible is a 0.2 millimeters. And this model that you see in front of you was finalized on 0.3 resolution. Again, you can always choose to process your models at the highest possible resolution of 0.2, but as you can see, just a bit lower resolution still maintains a lot of our crisp, clear details that we want to see. So that highly depends on how much time you have and, again, your laptop or computer's resources. So just like with our Calibri scans, on the frames, we have our texture frames that were captured. Here it was about, I believe, every 15th frame for this specific scan. And here is the scan with applied texture. Here you can, the colors are really bright. It's the texture frames were definitely enough to create a very great realistic texture. We can see the veins in the ears, we can see the eyebrows, we can very clearly see the eye color and the eyelashes. So Calibri Mini is really great for capturing all of those details. And again, as I said, if you just need the mesh model and you don't need any color or texture models, prior to scanning, you can select to capture kind of zero frames of texture, and then you will just have our mesh frames. All right. Once again, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them in the YouTube chat. Likewise, you are welcome to visit our YouTube channel and check out our other webinars and our other tutorials on the different functions of our scanners and Calibri Nest. You are welcome to also visit our website and see the different models we have there. So those are some human models and human faces done with the Calibri and also the Calibri Mini. And if you ever have any questions about the scanners or our software, please feel free to write it to our support inbox. So that is support@thor3dscanner.com, as you can see below. So please write any of your questions or queries there, and we would be happy to answer them. Once again, thank you all for your time and attention.